Right now, you're probably part of a massive multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against Valve, and you don't even know it. A UK tribunal greenlit a massive class action case where millions of gamers are suing Valve, accusing the company of illegally overcharging players. If it succeeds, the fallout could change PC gaming forever. I'm Josh, and on today's episode of the Infographics Show, we're explaining why the UK is suing Valve. So, who actually brought this case? The case was filed by Vicky Shotbolt on behalf of roughly 14 million UK Steam users. Any Valve user over 13 who made a purchase between June 4, 2018 and June 4, 2024 is affected by this opt-out class action lawsuit. That means you could literally be suing Gabe Newell and the Steam team right now unless you actively opt out. Shotbolt, by her own admission, is not a gamer. She's a digital rights activist, and that's the basis of her case. She alleges that UK customers have paid more than they should for PC games and add-ons on Steam, arguing that Valve has abused its dominant market position. How so? Well, the lawsuit claims Valve charges excessive prices for games on Steam. The platform takes a commission on every sale, usually between 20 and 30% depending on revenue. This cost is passed on by the developers to the users in the form of higher prices. Shotbolt says this commission is excessive, driving up the prices for gamers and inflating Valve's profits. But the fee is only excessive if you're not getting anything in return. Some PC gamers would argue Steam puts that extra cash to good use. Steam isn't a monopoly because it's crushed the other platforms, it dominates the competition simply because it is the superior product. As Valve and many gamers and developers argue, these commissions fund innovative, useful features like the Steam Deck. The lawsuit challenges Steam's price parity obligations for developers looking to put their games on the platform. These rules stop developers from selling their games anywhere else unless the price is the same or higher. The lawsuit claims Valve secretly enforces them across all other online and physical stores, not just Steam key sales. The lawsuit also claims that this lets Valve maintain its monopoly on PC games by removing any incentives for gamers to shop around. That, in turn, stops rivals from developing and competing fairly with Steam. Thirdly, the lawsuit targets Steam's rule that developers can't sell add-ons or DLC on other platforms at a lower price or earlier than on Steam. The law firm leading the case, Milberg London LLP, previously filed a $6.7 billion claim against Sony PlayStation. They say Valve limits rivals' abilities to compete on price, letting Steam charge consumers higher prices. It's their belief that the game and the DLC are separate products, but Steam's restrictions force players to buy both on Steam, paying the high commission in the process. They say Valve has illegally tied these products together, limiting consumer choice in the process. The average consumer doesn't like monopolies or being exploited by them. Nobody wants to pay more than they should because of monopolistic policies. So on the surface, the case has its merits. Shotbolt and her lawyers genuinely believe they've brought this case against Steam in the best interest of the platform's users. On their website, they emphasize the lawsuit isn't meant to end Steam or hurt gamers. Quote, "This claim does not want to and is not about shutting down Steam or restricting gamer access to the platform in any way," it states. But for gamers, this case is likely to make things much worse, not better. It could break a system that gamers desperately want to keep intact. Steam didn't become dominant by suffocating or buying out their competitors. There is nothing stopping gamers from using alternative platforms. In fact, most gamers would probably welcome competition for Steam. But there isn't any. Epic Games Store, Good Old Games, or GOG, and publisher-specific launchers like the EA app and Ubisoft Connect just can't compete with Steam. They don't even come close. So gamers have voted with their wallets and their launchers to create a monopoly out of Steam. Neither Steam nor anyone else forced them to. But the lawsuit intends to break the features that have given Steam an edge. Users don't feel like they're trapped under an exploitative monopoly. They feel like they're getting good value for their money, even if it does cost a bit more to buy games than it normally would. It's an important point, especially when you think about how big the payout would be if the case succeeds. The case is demanding an estimated £656 million in compensation from Valve, around $899 million. If it succeeds, each member of the class action could get a refund of just £22 to £44, or around $30 to $60. That's enough to pick up an extra game or two, maybe some DLC, but when you look at the likely fallout, it is hardly a win. It's a massive price for Steam users to pay. People are willing to pay more for a higher quality product because of the benefits it offers compared to a cheaper option. And that's exactly the case with Steam compared to its competitors. Epic Game Store, or EGS, already proved this. They tried to undercut Steam by charging developers a 12% commission. That is a 60% discount compared to Steam's 30%. They also tried to make some games available at much cheaper prices. And the result? Gamers hated it. And that's because there's much more to Steam than just a game store. As Adrian Himmelarsh, the lead developer of Witchfire, put it, EGS is a shop and Steam is a community. EGS is not home to them, he explained. They don't have written reviews, the forums, there's nothing out there to do but buy. That will always lose to a shop that is also emotional. Steam has years of development behind it. EGS has lagged in adding basic features. Gifting was only added in 2025. Steam's longevity and stability give users confidence that it won't suddenly disappear or revoke licenses. Epic Game Store, on the other hand, has faced criticism over account bans, poor support, and data privacy issues. Developers and gamers are wary of EGS's use of timed exclusivity deals, where games are hosted only on EGS for a set period after their release. Witchfire started life under a one-year EGS exclusive deal. Adrian Himmelarsh admits the deal saved his studio, taking the game from prototype to viral sensation. But the real benefits came after the exclusivity ended and Witchfire was released on Steam. Steam's huge user base and the trust players have in the platform makes that possible. On EGS, it's almost impossible. Witchfire has already racked up more than 500,000 downloads and counting. It's one of the major issues with the lawsuit. It aims to make Steam's rivals more competitive. But what is the point if they just aren't as good? And then there's the elephant in the room. Steam offers a bigger library of games and add-ons than any of its rivals, and it's all in one place. Steam offers over 100,000 titles, with over 18,800 new games added in 2024 alone. By comparison, EGS offers around 4,000 games, including free titles, with just 1,100 new releases in 2024. That is 25 times fewer total games and 15 times fewer new ones than Steam. That is Steam's main rival. The comparison with others is even bigger. Ubisoft Connect only has around 100 games on offer, mostly its own products. That is a huge part of what makes Steam the go-to platform for gamers, and that's exactly what the lawsuit threatens. Neither Valve nor Steam gamers are taking this lawsuit lying down. A growing number of UK gamers have contacted the lawyers to opt out of the lawsuit and stand with Valve. The public backlash was so intense that Vicky Shotbolt and her team had to dramatically tone down the messaging on their website. The original homepage header accused Valve of, quote, rigging the PC games market and deliberately shutting out the competition. That was later softened to a more neutral question, is Steam fair? That's a big step down. The original website also painted Valve as actively anti-competitive and deliberately using its position to harm rivals and consumers. It now frames Steam as a platform whose practices may violate competition law. It's clear the tech world is shifting fast, and we have covered stories that matter, from hidden battles to major shakeups. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay on top of the full story. Valve tried to get the case dismissed on technicalities, but the court ruled in late January 2026 that the case could proceed. Valve says Shotbolt and her team didn't show how its so-called platform parity obligations, or PPOs, affected prices and competition. They also pushed back on the class definition, especially when it came to kids. After all, kids using Steam can't legally opt out or in, which makes it tricky to claim 14 million UK users are represented. Valve also argued that PPOs weren't really enforced and they couldn't count as abusing a dominant market position under UK law. They even questioned whether Shotbolt could afford the case, despite her securing £18.6 million, or about $24.9 million in litigation funding. That is not how the court saw it at all. The Competition Appeal Tribunal, or CAT, rejected Valve's arguments. The court ruled that a revised class definition excluding under-13s solved the opt-out concerns. But more importantly, it decided the debate over the PPO's effects wasn't something to dismiss, it was a matter for trial. So Valve is going to court, and the result could change gaming as we know it, and not for the better. If Valve is forced to lower its 30% commission rate, it would lose a major source of revenue. They would have to find other ways to monetize the platform. That would mean new fees for games, such as subscriptions or higher transaction fees. and that commission is currently what funds the development of Steam features, customer support, and back-end infrastructure. Lowering the commission will almost certainly lead to a slowdown in new features and lower the quality of the platform. Developers would also feel the pain, especially the little guy. For small and indie developers, that 30% commission isn't just a fee, it's the cost of accessing a massive suite of tools like Steamworks, Steam Cloud Saves, and Community Hub. Plus, it gives them entry into Steam's built-in audience of millions. If Valve's income is squeezed, look out. It might start charging developers separately for those services. As the barrier to entry rises, the financial risk for smaller studios goes up, meaning fewer experimental, niche, or indie games get made. Having fewer games to choose from would affect most gamers, even if they end up paying less for the games still being made. Eliminating a large chunk of Valve's commissions would put the brakes on the company's rollout of projects like the Steam Deck, which has expanded the PC gaming market. If the lawsuit succeeds, Valve would have to play it safe. Groundbreaking hardware or software without an immediate payoff could be scaled back, or even shelved. It's hard to see how gamers benefit from this. But the thing gamers might dislike the most are the challenges to Valve's rules tying in-game purchases and DLC to Steam. Remove those rules and developers could start selling DLC or running in-game stores on their own websites. It would be the average Steam gamer's nightmare, a fragmented experience. Imagine not being able to carry your friends list and game progress between a Steam version and the one you bought on EGS or GOG. You could end up with the base game on one platform and the DLC on another with no way to connect them. And there's the rub. If Valve is forced to drop the PPO, publishers like EA, Ubisoft, and Microsoft are likely to pull their games off of Steam. You'll be forced to use multiple launchers, constantly jumping from one platform to another, all for a settlement that won't buy you much more than a burger and fries. That unmatchable unified PC gaming library will die. What makes this whole scenario so frustrating is that the case isn't coming from people who hate gaming or want to punish Steam. It's not coming from a rival platform trying to grab a bigger piece of the market. It's coming from someone you would probably think was on the side of gamers. Remember we said that Vicky Shotbolt is a digital rights activist? She's spent years campaigning for children's safety online. She's also the founder and CEO of Parent Zone, an organization that helps families and global brands improve kids' lives online. Her expertise lies in understanding how digital platforms interact with consumers, particularly young people, and what fair, safe engagement looks like. Her intentions, by and large, seem honorable. She views the gaming industry as a vital part of the ecosystem and has acknowledged that games are important for socializing and enjoyment. She's even on record calling Steam a fantastic platform from a gamer's point of view. In her quest to save gamers from what she sees as an oppressive monopoly, she might end up killing the only gaming platform that actually works. If you're sitting in the US, you might be thinking, this is irrelevant to me, it's a UK problem. Well, that would be a huge mistake. The ramifications of this case ripple way beyond the UK and way beyond gaming. Valve has been fighting a very similar case in the US, which was filed in 2021 and is still ongoing. While US and UK competition laws aren't the same, a strong UK ruling could give American lawyers the power, evidence, and economic analysis they need to win their case. Valve would be in the crosshairs, not just in the US, but around the world. The UK is increasingly seen as one of the most important global jurisdictions for competition class actions. If Valve loses in the UK, claimants in other countries would be encouraged to file similar cases, heaping on the pressure. Steam would have to make the changes demanded by the UK worldwide just to avoid bad press and even more lawsuits. But the fallout from the case could also go well beyond gaming. The same UK court, the CAT, is processing a number of collective actions against Google. The Epic Games Inc. versus Alphabet Inc. trial, representing about 2,200 UK app developers, and the Elizabeth Cole collective action have been combined into a single trial set for September 2026. This case, and Valve's, follows hot on the heels of a landmark judgment made by CAT in October 2025 against Apple. This is a crucial development with regards to the Valve case, because it won on many of the same arguments being made against Valve. So the legal framework for a case against Valve has now been set. If the case against Valve is successful, Google's defense will also be in serious trouble. And the same applies to every digital platform in any industry operating behind a walled garden-type business model. The Apple judgment sent a clear message that major platforms can't use security, quality control, or user experience as excuses for unfair rules or high fees, even if players don't mind or even like it. And when it came to that controversial 30% commission, the UK tribunal ruled it was unlawfully excessive and unfair. It's a massive legal precedent that threatens Steam's identical 30% cut. Of course, Google and Apple are both bona fide monopolies that regularly use their size and power to their advantage, often at the expense of their users. Steam isn't. Like the Google and Apple cases, the Valve lawsuit is about what counts as monopolistic behavior, but this time it's being brought on behalf of gamers, even though many of them don't actually mind Valve's practices. Millions of gamers are in the dark about this, but not you. What happens next could send shockwaves through the entire gaming industry. It's not just tech giants under the microscope, game development is feeling it too. Watch why GTA 6 is taking forever to make, to see why Rockstar is under so much pressure to deliver. Or click on this video instead.